Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. McDonough or Dr. McDonough, as an independent pharmacist operating in a community setting, you are not just a healthcare provider and part of that ecosystem, you're also running a small business. We've seen over 6,500 independent pharmacies close their doors since 2010. And in Alabama, we looked at the reliable data between 2015 and 2018. We had over 225 close their doors. That goes to a rate of about 1 per month. When you're dealing with a state like Alabama, when in our rural communities, local independent pharmacies is often the only healthcare provider within 20 or 30 miles, this is absolutely, completely unacceptable. When PBMs impose retroactive clawbacks, DIR fees, and below-cost reimbursement rates, they're not just squeezing your bottom line, they are pushing out entire communities towards pharmacy deserts. Based on what you've seen, are current PBM practices accelerating the loss of rural pharmacies? And what does that mean for basic access to medications and clinical services in places like rural Alabama?
Yeah, I would definitely say, excuse me, that it has been accelerating. If you look at just some of the past information that we've had within our own pharmacy and looking at how much we lost, and I'll use the pharmacy that we just closed. 2 years ago, we were at a negative $95,000 as our net amount that we made. Last year was a negative $75,000. Then we dug into the data. 25% of all the prescription claims that we filled were lower than zero.
Unbelievable.
So it's negative. A third of the prescriptions were $0 to $5. What does that mean? Well, if we look at cost of dispensing, you talk about being a small business. I hire people. In my corporation, in our corporation, we have 70 to 80 employees. I take it very seriously when we have to think about closing something because I'm affecting people's potential livelihoods. I've also seen how community pharmacies, when they close up, how the community misses them.
Absolutely.
Because they may be the only healthcare provider, as you said, that they have access to. And these are not just community pharmacies. These are people who are trusted within the community, who contribute back to the community. These are the people who get the calls after hours and actually will take a drug to a patient at their home. That's what's missing, and we're going to be losing more and more. So as long as we keep debating about this, because people have asked me, do you think we're going to see more closures? I'm like, absolutely.
There is a relationship aspect in our rural communities that cannot be matched. When you're looking at creating opportunity, that opportunity for the American dream, you can't draw in that opportunity without access to care, without access to pharmacies. No one is going to come and locate a plant and create good paying jobs or decide to expand in a place that has a pharmacy desert. We know that that is true. And so looking at this in a place like Alabama, where 55 out of 67 of our communities are rural communities, they deserve better. And so when we're looking at all of this, and I think Mr. Scott made clear this morning, most employers do rely on PBMs to manage cost. But still, as the PBM debate rolls on, I'm struck by how the patient and employers, the ones who are actually paying the bills, seem to be the least empowered voices in the entire system. Employer-sponsored health care insurance remains the primary source of health coverage in America. So more than 164 million Americans obtain coverage through an employer. Dr. Sood, why do most employers accept a model where intermediaries are incentivized by the size of the rebate rather than the value of the drug to the patient?
So I think the challenge is employers don't have a lot of choice. 80% of the market is controlled by the big three PBMs. And that scale is important in leveraging discounts from manufacturers. But I think employers would prefer a model where there was a direct price reduction and no rebates, because then I can make sure that I've got the money, right?
So are those the structural reforms that you believe are needed, or what else do you think is needed for more visibility, bargaining power, and value for our dollar?
So I think what is needed is greater transparency so that we know, or employers can know whether they're getting a good deal or not. And we need a fiduciary responsibility for PBMs that if they don't act in the best interest of plan members or employees, we can address that in the courts.
And one final question, Dr. Kutcher, do you believe that rebate-driven formula design and utilization tools reflect sound clinical judgment?
Oftentimes, no. Oftentimes, we are trying to fight for medications that are nationally guideline accepted that we are still fighting for.
Thank you.